Braden Carrington is going to be running it back for the Badgers one more year, and I tell you why I love it. Scary Alvarez is back after yet another summer vacation. Good times. Some big news for the Wisconsin Badger basketball team, albeit not terribly shocking at this point, unless you count a court ruling going in Wisconsin's favor as something that usually happens, which it does not. Braden Carrington, very productive, talented guard who came to the Badgers by way of the portal last year, former Minnesota Gopher, former Minnesota High School Player of the Year, and it was also in Tulsa for a spell there, is going to have another year for the Wisconsin Badgers. And as I teased, because that's what we do now, because the YouTube bots love it, I think this is a great thing for the Badgers. Now, there may be some – I'm not trying to suggest that anyone in this team doesn't want what's best for the overall team collective, but there may be a few people in that room that are players that maybe are not overjoyed by having 25 minutes a night going to someone else in the backcourt. But I think this is helpful not only for the upside of the team, but the depth of the team. And, you know, it's anyone's guess who's going to start between Carrington and Autry, but I think Carrington's going to start this year. That's my feeling. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, his minutes are going to be there. We know what the product is. There were moments where it was a little streaky, but the upside is there. The floor is relatively high, and this is a win for the Badgers. No question. Now, I haven't analyzed where some of these other folks are going, coming back, these other 6th-year people or 5th-year people. Not going to worry about that in this show. AJ Storr, I noticed. And someone said online that he might be going for the 9 for 9 different teams in 9 years. So we'll see how that goes. It certainly will not be happening in Madison, Wisconsin for AJ Storr, though. We all know what Carrington's about. We know what he has done. We had some wonderful moments from him last season. I wouldn't say the last 8-9 games were – the trend line wasn't outstanding. I think he did most of his best work earlier in the season, but I just don't see anything but upside for Carrington coming back. Throw a Scary like in a subscription if you haven't already. Hadn't mentioned it at the top. I alluded to the algorithms. They're dicey. They're tricky these days for shows, especially small shows that don't use a lot of complex and highfalutin marketing things like mine. I just, hit record, ramble for 10 minutes. So I don't like begging for people to push like buttons. It's not an ego boost. That's not what it's about for me. It's about having the ability for other people who don't already listen, I guess is probably the fairest characterization of what this is, who listen to the show to have it in their algorithm and have it in their feed, because it's trickier and trickier these days to do it. So thank you for doing that. Anyway, back to Braden Carrington. Let's analyze this in terms of what it means for Wisconsin. I mean, I said generically, I think this is a good thing. Stick by it. Does this raise the ceiling of this team substantially from, although we're not sure exactly what it is, from what we think it will be? We have seen some signs of that in some of these practices that were open, to what we hope it could be. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know one thing. I don't think this is going to do anything but help Wisconsin. This is not a superstar slasher who is going to somehow replace the work that John Blackwell did last season. That's not what this is, okay? This is not a incredibly high motor, win-at-all-cost point guard that is going to will his way to wins over teams like Illinois. That's not who Carrington is. But that doesn't mean that he's not helpful. And that does not mean that he's not another great card in Greg Gard's hand as we approach the Big Ten season. I think his, floor spacing kind of shooting that he can have, which he was, again, he got pretty consistent with it over the course of the season. There were some clunkers there, but that was everyone. This is not a pro team. But having his experience, by all accounts, he's a very good locker room guy. I feel like his skill set and his demeanor and his leadership can only help the Badgers. Does that mean a couple extra wins this season? I mean, it's impossible to quantify this. It's hard to quantify that than to make a prediction on the Badger football team win total, which I've already struggled with. But I do think the absolute worst case scenario is this makes them a little better. So take that for what it's worth. As I noted earlier, I'd love to hear what y'all think is going to happen with Carrington, but that is the 15th and final spot for the Badgers. I know there have been some speculation that they may reach into Europe and some of these other roads less traveled that Gard has been using the last few years to complete rosters. That is not going to happen anymore. But yeah, I mean, there are aspects of this team that I would like to be a little different heading into the season, but especially with its increased emphasis on defensive intensity and being in the game defensively from a head perspective, which we lost many times last season. I don't know. I mean, I may have an opinion or opinions that differ from this as the season approaches, but I'm cautiously optimistic about this team. I do expect that people will, and by people I mean fans and also media, will, per usual, underestimate this team. It wouldn't shock me if, based on losing Blackwell and Boyd, that some people don't think it's a tournament team, even with an expanded tournament field. I don't think this is a big spoiler here, but I'll say spoiler alert anyway. I think this is a tournament team. Could that opinion change? Yes, of course it could. Injuries, the team not gelling, who knows? But I think as we sit here at the beginning of August, this has the composition, given Greg Gard's track record of being an NCAA tournament team, and perhaps more. This is just such a different group than it's been in the past. I'm very excited to see this team against competition, and adding Braden Carrington, for all the reasons that I have already articulated, can only help that process as we go forward. So one more thing I want to harken back to just a bit. I had speculated about what he will do as far as, is he coming off the bench, will he start? I suspect he'll start, but I want to reemphasize in a little greater detail why I don't think that makes much difference. Because I think you could argue Trey Autry is a more complete player, maybe a little more on the defensive side, certainly on-ball defense for Autry versus Carrington. And there may be certain things psychologically that Gard thinks will go better or be better when Carrington is coming off the bench. It's what he's used to. Wouldn't shock me. But my bottom line is I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference whether Carrington starts or whether he comes off the bench. Those minutes are going to look almost exactly the same. Either way, it's not going to matter much. And his impact on the team and in any individual game is going to look very similar. I think you will see him at the end of games. Just mark my word. I think they'll want him on the court. And there is no reason to believe. I mean, he's going to be called Unk, and he's going to be, the grizzled veteran, old guy of the group. I think he's 22 years old. But this is still a young guy whose basketball game can and should still be ascending. So there is no reason to believe that Braden Carrington won't be a little better next season. And him being a little better and being back is a huge positive for the Wisconsin Badgers. How big a positive? It's unclear right now, but it is a positive. And I'm really excited to have him back. And I will say, in that Onion article that says worst person you know is right, and it's tragic. That's one of my favorite memes. And Darren Heitner, I guess we have to give him a grudging thanks for representing Carrington and getting a win for the Badgers, even though he was a huge part of illegally stealing a former defensive back for the University of Miami. So he's not quite up to zero yet, but we'll give him some props. Anyway, throw your thoughts in the comments. Really appreciate listening. And Scary Alvarez is out.